Okay, welcome everybody. I'm Barb Owen and you are at Creating Faces on a Friday afternoon. It's September the 4th and in 2015. And so if you're watching the recording, welcome. Glad you're here. If you're here live, I'm so excited to have you here. We have a nice group here today. Hi Meg and Sherry and everybody. So blanket hellos to everyone. So come on in, and if you're here live, that's great. I'm happy that you're that you took time out of your Friday afternoon to spend some time. And I'm going to be having to do a couple of text messages here for a little bit because I got to keep track of what is going on with the air conditioner to see if we can get somebody to come over here and deal with it, if possible, before the weekend. Anyway, enough of that. Welcome to Drama Free Friday. There's nothing you guys can do about anything, nor I, and so we're just going to play and have a good time. Yeah. Always a nice group, that's right. Sweating up a storm over here, that's what Paula would say. I haven't started that yet, but I could. If I start glowing, I'll just take the camera off my face so you won't have to see me do that. Okay. Because we don't sweat, right? We glow, right? Here's what we're doing today. Whoops. Gotta get in the right spot. This is kind of what we're doing today. We're going to play around with the journal page technique. And, oh, that would be nice. Janet, that would be really nice. Let the playing begin. It is, after all, Drama Free Friday, which means, in case you have never been here before, it just means that we just suspend all the drama and all the stuff we can't do anything about, and we just set it off to the side for the next couple of hours, and we just enjoy some art, some creativity, and we just see what happens. So I don't have a great big huge plan today, but I thought we'd play around with this technique because I thought it might be something, might be new to you guys. Teresa says glistening. We're talking about the air conditioner in my studio here may be not functioning properly. So that's what we're chatting about in case you're watching the recording. So anyway, what we're going to play with is this technique in here. And so this is a separate piece. It goes from this side to here to where my fingers are, and from top to the bottom here. It doesn't quite fit in the screen. This is a 9x12 journal, and this piece of paper that I'm playing around with is 7x9, I guess. 7x10. 7x10. And I'm working with mixed media, Canson mixed media paper that I ripped out of my journal. And thanks everybody. If you have anything to say to me, be sure you put it in caps so that I will catch it, because I don't always, although I try to catch all the chat, I don't always catch it. And so this says, my life is a patchwork of experiences and it is beautiful. So that's what's going on around here. And I am not finished with it yet. So I've done the letters in white. I've gone back and outlined them. We'll talk about that when we get to that point. But I'll probably go back and do some shadow work and stuff around the letters. And I think I may put a silhouette of something on here. I'm not entirely sure yet. So it's a very patchwork type background. That's what we're going to play with. Okay, so that's what we're going to play with. So I have two pieces of paper, and these pieces of paper are, like I said, the Canson mixed media paper that I ripped out of a journal. And so we're going to play with, we need two kind of contrasting colors, and so these may be even more contrasting than the ones I did in the journal, because that's what I'm going to shoot to do here. This week on the members site, the subject was about gelatos. I'm doing a journal page with gelatos, and so I thought we'd play a little bit more, explore a little bit more with gelatos today. So I'm just getting the gelatos out here, and gelatos are like color crayons in chapstick, a chapstick container. They are water soluble, but they are good at staying put on raw paper, which this has not been treated with anything. Oh, good, Rain. You are welcome to do that. And so we're gonna, on this page, I'm gonna work with purples and blues. So I'm just gonna set aside some purples and blues. And here's another purple. Okay, and then on the other side, I think I'm gonna go for reds and oranges because I really want a hefty contrast in color. And maybe we'll throw in some yellow. So red, orange, and yellow, something like that. Okay? So I just have my little gelatos in just a little dish that happens to fit the length of them perfectly. And so I'm just going to stick them in here. I do have these all swatched out in a book, but I don't have the book in here. The book is behind door number 1 with the sponsors. And you know how that goes. We don't want to get the sponsors out here. You thought gelato was ice cream. Yeah, gelato is, but gelatos with an S are these fancy little things made by the Faber-Castell company that are really fun to play with. So, let's start. I gotta dispose of the bracelet in case. This is a locker hooking bracelet, by the way. Thought I would show you that. Locker hooking bracelet. So if you haven't watched the locker hooking video, you can see it. It's a class that shows you exactly how to do locker hooking, and you can watch it over on HowToGetCreative.com in the regular members or the regular website. So you can see it over there. It's not about the bracelet, it's about doing a flat piece. But anyway, I just thought I'd show it to you. This is done in all different kinds of silks. Let me show it to you up close. So this is done with silk. So hopefully you can see it. Okay. Are you guys having trouble with sound? Just saw that note in the chat. Okay. So what we're going to do, let me turn the page this way so you can see a little bit more. And so these are the regular size gelatos. They also come in a, okay, thanks, Tam. So these gelatos are the regulars, and they also are available in a larger size that is called the double scoop. I don't have the double scoops. So this is very scientific. This is very scientific. It kind of goes like that. It kind of goes like that. So I'm just going to add color. And just keep adding color. Paula. Paula and I have a running thing going on about our throats. So every time is she here, Journal Artista, I don't see her in the list. So I'm going to give her grief. She gives me trouble because my throat, when I start talking a lot, just goes wonky. And so when you broadcast and you do this for hours and you talk for hours at a time, your throat can just go south. And so you can do things like get out lemons, and you can do lemons, suck on lemons, and then I'd be like this, because I'd be all puckered up. And there's all different kinds of things you can do. And Jean tells me not to clear my throat, which I can't help it. I have to clear my throat. Oops, this one has got some, oh, this one I must have put water on. It's like I opened it and it's like, it's damp. It's because I used water on it earlier. Yeah, so every time Paula broadcasts, she starts giving me a bunch of grief because she'll start clearing her throat. And dollars to donuts. My mom used to say that one of her fairies got me when this would happen. But anytime I would do something I wasn't supposed to do, my mom, you know, invariably I'd get hurt, you know, or it would come back to haunt me. And that's kind of how it is with Paula, because when Journal Artista starts streaming, as soon as she hits the record button, her throat goes wonky. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to spray it with some water to get the pigment moving. I am working on mixed media paper, so it will take the water. And I'm going to use a paintbrush. And I'm going to wet the paintbrush just so I have it nice and soupy wet. And then I'm going to just start blending colors together. Now, the stronger colors are going to dominate the weaker colors, but that's kind of like life, right? It's kind of like life. So I do not care about getting these totally blended. I'm just after moving the color around on the page. And the brighter it is, the better. Okay, so that's all I'm going to do to it. Xandra? Xandra, did your keyboard get stuck? Or did somebody get on your keyboard? Alright. I need a little baby wipe. And I'm going to set this off to the side, because all I'm after is just to get the color kind of moving around, and I've got some drippy things happening, so we'll just let that go ahead and drip. Spread the water out a little bit. And maybe we'll go ahead and hit it with a heat gun. Let's see if this one's hooked up. Yes. Yeah, they'll blend with matte medium, somebody said in the chat. And so you can, if you have gesso on the surface of the page underneath the gelato, that makes a difference as well, you know. So there's all different kinds of great ways to use these little pigment sticks. I normally use my my heated tool, the Ranger heated tool, but I'm after a lot higher airflow, so that's why I'm using this noisy one. Okay, we're gonna let that sit for a little bit. It's still quite wet, but we're gonna let it sit. And this has, I don't know that you're gonna be able to pick it up. It has a sheen on it. Maybe you can see that. Hopefully. The reflection, maybe we can show it to you here. Trying to catch the light so you can see the, I don't think I'm gonna be able to catch it. Nope. Okay, take my word for it. It has a sheen because one of the gelatos come in, there are some metallics, and so the metallic on this one really took over, and so it's beautiful. Yeah, it's gorgeous. Okay, let's do this one. Hi, Larkspur Vicky. Good to see you. All right, so the next colorway we're going to play around with is oranges and reds and yellows and so forth. So I'm going to start with the yellow, and this time I'm going to go in a different kind of direction. So the other one was kind of swirly, so let's go and do kind of linear, kind of a linear pattern. Take me out of the picture so you can really see. Yeah. Okay, hang on just 1 minute. I'll be right back with you. Okay, sorry, I had sent a, I don't normally do that with the text message bit, but had to do it. Okay, that's the same color. Tangerine, in case you want to know what the colors were that I used. The first one on this was banana. The second one is mango. This one I'm using is tangerine. The next one I'm using is blood orange. A beautiful, yummy color. And the last one I'm going to use is red cherry. Which is really similar to the blood orange, but it's still different. Okay. All right, so again, I'm going to spray it with water just to kind of get the color, the pigment kind of moving around a little bit. Okay, and then I'm just going to blend the colors together. And again, as I said, I'm after two very bright, very differently toned, different looking sheets, and very bright. And a contrast of pattern also, which we have. Okay, so the other colors Carrie, do you want me to mod you? Will that help to get Xandra back in? Let me know, because I can certainly do that. Or are you taking time off? It's totally fine. The other colors I used on the other purple sheet were raspberry, lavender. I don't know what this one is. It must be, well, let's see. What did I write on here? Look at it right side up. Then you can tell. Boysenberry. That one for some reason is not marked. It must be metallic. I don't know. Once in a while there's one that's not marked. Metallic grape, regular grape, and metallic blueberry. So those were the ones I used on the other one. Okay. Let me take just a second here. I need to find... Let me see if I can do this, Carrie. Okay. Okay. Carrie, you are officially moderated, so you can do whatever needs to be done. Carrie to the rescue. If I didn't mod the right account, Carrie, you'll have to let me know. Okay, so back to the dryer. So the heat gun, so that's going to make noise. Hello? Okay, sorry. That was I don't know how much of that you had to hear. That was the husband calling to have a conversation with me about the air conditioner. Like, speed it up. Talk faster. I'm on air. Holy mackerel. He can stretch out. He can stretch out a conversation sometimes, let me tell you. That's crazy. Anyway, so if you had to hear any of that, I apologize. I just tried to mute it fast enough, and I thought, don't know whether I got that done or not. So, yeah. So in other words, it's going to get a little warmer in here sooner rather than later. So this stream may not be a very long stream because I'm a lightweight when it comes to this heat and humidity thing. Okay, back to the issue at hand. Okay, yes, it is warm in the sponsors room also. It definitely is. Okay, the next step, I'm going to go back to this one, which is still quite damp. And I'm going to use some gesso. Yeah, overheated sponsors will be grumpy. That is for dead certain. That is for dead certain. Okay, so we're going to get some gesso. That's what I did next. Yeah. I'm going to get some gesso, and I'm just going to use a scraper of some kind. Doesn't matter what kind. Yeah, I've got a fan on, thanks. And they've got a fan on. So we're good. We're good. No complaints. Okay, so I'm going to put gesso over this. A very thin coat of gesso. And I'm going to try to get all the edges. You know, air conditioners are just like sewing machines. They don't break unless you're using them. And ovens and refrigerators and all that kind of stuff. So that's just life, you know. No worries. Just keep cranking. Okay, so there is that one. With this technique with pastels. I don't know. It might be worth a try. Okay, so there's that one. As it sits, it's going to change a little bit. All right, so you see what the color is now. I'm going to go the other way just for something different. But what I'm after is a very, very thin coat of gesso because I still want some of the pigment underneath to show through. So I'm not after evenness of color, I'm after evenness of the coat. You know, the streakiness is great. I don't mind that at all. Yeah, Sandy. Sandy says, please don't use me. I might break down. Let me sit. That doesn't work either, because I will tell you, Clausman, who is my husband, repairs sewing machines. And people think he's a miracle worker because he does do a great job repairing sewing machines. And he has literally raised some machines from the dead. And I do mean that with the utmost amount of respect. But we've had a couple that people have brought us that it's like, you know, it is deader than a doornail, but I've hardly used it. It's like, and that's the problem. You can't let something sit, especially certain kinds of sewing machines cannot be allowed to sit and not be used because they will do exactly what this one did, which was completely lock up. And some machines, it depends on, there's one particular brand and one particular era that these machines were manufactured. They were manufactured with a certain kind of lubrication, and that lubrication, it's a grease of some kind that they used, and that grease seizes up in the machine, and it turns to that, and dust combined together are bad news. So yeah. And you know, then people get frustrated with, well, I've had it for 20 years and I've hardly used it, or I've had it for 30 years and I've hardly used it. It's like, yeah, that's part of the problem. You hardly used it. Okay, so we have our two sheets here. Okay, so those are the two sheets. Contrasting colors, created with Gelatos. So this is this set of Gelatos. This was this set of Gelatos with gesso over the top, you know, just to tone it down a little bit, and also seal in the gelato, basically, is what we're doing. Although it's going to be completely irrelevant here in a minute for what I'm going to do. So I'm going to use, this is a hand carved stamp, as this is a hand carved stamp. Okay. It was Viking. Susan, it was Viking. So I'm going to use these two stamps. I'm going to use one on one side and one on the other, and you'll see why when we get further down the process. And I'm going to do them, I'm going to stamp on the page with the gelato. So sealing the background is, you know, is great, but I'm going to use the stamp, you know, with gelato, so kind of it's a moot point in some ways. Anyway, I'm going to dry these again. Okay. Yeah, most of the time we haven't had any trouble with Berninas, but yeah, it's the self-lubricating machines that we had a lot of trouble with. Okay, so I'm kind of pushing this technique. This really needs to dry and stuff, but you know, we're just going to play with it and see what happens. So since this is the kind of warm tones, I'm going to use the purples and stamp on top of it. So whatever this color is, this is grape. I'm going to color this, and I'm going to see if this comes off where you can see it. If not, I'm going to switch to an ink pad, and I'll use the ink pad instead. But this is what I did on the pages that are in my journal. And I'm going to hit it with just a teeny little bit of water away from my page. So a spritz of water. Ah, that's going to work. Okay, so you can see that. So I'm coloring the stamp with the gelato. So this color, as I said, was grape. Hit it with a little water and then stamp it. And what I'm after is creating a pattern. I am so sorry I don't know your name. Schlarmack. So I'm so glad you're here, but I don't know what your name is. I feel bad, and I don't know how to pronounce that. I don't know how to pronounce your screen name. So anyway, welcome. Okay, so just create a pattern. You might get 2 stamps out of it. Let's try a second one. Sophia. Okay. Thank you. I wonder if I can remember that. You might have to remind me again. Thank you for telling me. I'm glad you got to catch us live. I wonder if I can get another one out of that, huh? So as I said, these are hand carved stamps. Carved out of the pink stamping material. Like, you can't tell if that's pink, but it is. And so I carved these a long time ago. I love using my own stamps. I love using my own stuff. Whether it's stamps or, and now don't get me wrong, I will buy stamps and, you know, all kinds of things, but I love working with my own stuff because then, first of all, you don't have any copyright issues. And on top of that, it's just rewarding to create your own stuff, you know? I'm on at your dinner time. You must be in the UK, huh? Hi, Di. Okay, so just putting in various bits of this element, and I'm just making a pattern, trying not to make them all in a row, which usually happens. It's very easy to do things in a row. I'm trying not to. And then I'm going to spray this. Well, I've got a baby wipe here. We'll get most of it off. But these need to go under the sink with a toothbrush to get the gelato out of them. So you want to use a toothbrush and, you know, get the gelato out. But this will work for now. Okay, so we're going to set that one to the side. But isn't that pretty? It's pretty cool. Okay, so this one has curled up. You can see how much it's curled. And so I'm going to roll it against the edge of the table to see if I can take some of the curl out of it. Okay, so it's flatter. And so I'm going to switch to one of the, a different color Gelato. Let's use this really bright red, which is Red Cherry. And I'm going to use this one, which is also a hand-carved stamp. It's carved out of a different carving material, which I did not care for. But, you know, it's worked. It worked. Thanks. Thanks, Dee Dee. Oh, hi, Dee Dee, by the way. Okay, so we're going to just quickly color over the lines. This is random, okay? This is not fine. This is not Stamping 101, so if Rachel is here or watching the recording, she's our resident wonderful stamper. That worked out pretty well. And I want these on purpose to go different directions, so this is another one of those things you have to think about when you're trying to get things to go different ways, different directions. So again, more gelato. Could be using an ink pad. You can use multiple colors of things, you know, kind of whatever you want to use. Thanks, Cheryl. Okay, Zandra says, Barb, will the sun run if you add water? Probably will. If I don't respond to all of your comments, please don't take it personally. It's just that I don't see them. So, yeah, that happens sometimes when you're streaming and trying to keep up with what you're doing and show you stuff and keep up with the chat and, you know, all that stuff. So each time I'm putting color on, the stamp, and then I'm spritzing it with water. So I'm getting a couple of stampings out of it. But you just barely missed it. If you put too much water on it, you don't get an impression at all. Has been my experience. Okay, good enough. There you can see the pattern. So we've got things going all different directions, which is what we're after. And I'm just kind of stamping off whatever's left on my stamp here. Okay, good enough. Okay, let me clean off my stamp just a little bit, and then, as I said, I will take them to the sink and I will use a toothbrush to get into all the little grooves. And you can use a commercial stamp, do the same thing. You just want to make sure you get all the crud off of it, because sometimes the gelato gets down in those little groovy things, and then they end up stamping when you didn't expect them to, which is usually not a problem for me, but you know, meaning if it stamps something unusual, I don't mind it. Not that I'm a great stamper, mind you. Okay, so we got that, and I'm going to hit this with a heat tool. Thanks, Rain. Okay, now we're done with gelatos, so I'm going to put the gelatos away. So we've done a background and we've stamped with gelatos. So they've done their due. We're done with the gesso. So here's our 2 pieces of paper, which are, again, we're after contrasting colors. All right. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to play around with some pens. So, you know, what you can see is that all I intend to do here is to create, I want something that has an obvious pattern, and I have some chunks of gelato here that I'm just kind of spreading out with my hands, so smearing them a little bit. Some of your pens are going to work over this stuff, and some of them are not, and that's perfectly fine with me. So I have a group of, these are Jelly Roll Metallics, and I have a love-hate relationship. I have a love-hate relationship with Jelly Roll pens. Most of the time I love them. I have a love-hate relationship with paint pens. Again, most of the time I love them. I have a love-hate relationship with white pens, black pens, you know, because, and it's not the pen's fault, it's what I'm trying to make them do that becomes the issue. It's not their fault at all, it's my fault, but I want to push the thing to a different place than it's intended to go. That's okay. So I'm going to use some of these metallics, and all I'm after is just to get some loose pen work on here, which you may or may not be able to see. I'm going to see if I can show it to you. Right here, I just kind of loosely went around the shape of the sun, okay? And that's all I'm going to do for a couple of colors here. Is I'm just going to do some, I've got the pen held back in my hand, so I'm not tempted to draw every stroke. I'm just putting a little bit of metallic, and sometimes it runs across the gelato, and the gelato says, "Ha, I'm going to stop you." And so sometimes it makes the pen skip. And, you know, that's perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. No stress. You're just, it's all about adding layers of color and visual texture. We're not actually doing actual texture. We're just doing layers of visual texture. Okay, so scribbly little layers of metallic color, which you probably can't see at all, and I apologize for that, but that's the, as my son used to say, that's the how of it. So let's go for another color. Maybe you'll be able to see this. So just adding a little bit more of this. Keep it loose, keep it loose. You might be able to see that one. I'll show you in the other camera here in a minute. So lots of scribbly lines, and these happen to be Jelly Roll Metallic pen. Okay. Okay, maybe you can kind of see that. Let me zoom in as close as I can here. That's as close as I can get you, so you can kind of see the loose, scribbly addition of some pen. Okay, so there's that. So you can still see the stamped image. Yep, souffle pens are another one of those. Just like a sewing machine, if you don't use it, it goes away. Okay, so that's what we have so far. What do I want to do now? I want to go to put some sparkle on it. more sparkle. And I'm continually stopping and having to kind of roll it out to re-flatten the paper a little bit against the edge of the table. Okay, so I got my paper flattened back out. And so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put some metallic on it. So I think for this one we'll put, this is Dina Wakley's media paint. This is the heavy body acrylic, and this is in the color Gilt, G-I-L-T, as opposed to Gilt as in G-U-I-L-T. This is Gilt as in gold. So this, I bought a couple of the tips that go on the end. These little puppies are not cheap, but I do like the effect, I have to say. So I like to give it a head start. So shake it to make sure the paint is down in the tip. Okay, once it's down in the tip, then you're good to go. And then I'm just going to put some gold, scratchy. Again, all I'm after is some fun color. This is a beautiful color when it dries. And just for fun, let's do some scribbles here and there. Watch where your hands go, because if you don't, you'll be unhappy. So I'm turning the paper so that I can try to avoid getting things going all one direction. So keep turning it around, looking at it, seeing what you see. Hi, Janny. Okay, then it has a little lid with a little needle tool in the end, just like the Fineline bottles, and you put it back in and it doesn't stop up. Okay, so we have that. I'm going to hit this with a heat gun, and then we'll work on the other one. Hi, Pam. Okay, before I go to the other one, I'm going to put a little white and black on this one, and then that'll give it a little punch. This is the white Sharpie paint pen. This is my love affair with white pens. The Molotov. I love this for the white. It does the whitest white. And sometimes it wants to splurt and splat, which quite honestly I don't mind the splurts and splats. It just takes a while for them to dry. So If you don't have one of these, you can use a Sharpie paint pen. You dip your paint, the handle of your paintbrush, into white paint. You can do that, but I'm just doing some white splatter splot things here and there. And we're going to call that done enough. And then I'm going to use the fine liner bottle that has black in it, which I also could use the Molotov, whatever it is, black marker, paint marker, and do that. On this, I just want to do, it's just easy. This is acrylic paint, and I'm going to put some dots along my little zigzag things here. Again, just creating pattern. You could do this very same thing if you like creating ATCs and stuff like that. You could do this very same kind of thing. It's just making your own decorative paper. I have airbrush paint in this fine line bottle. This is happens to be Createx. It could be whatever you want, but I have Createx in here, and I don't think I have anything else in it. Quite honestly, I don't know, because it's been too long since I put the stuff in the bottle, but I believe it's just the Createx paint, airbrush paint, which is very thin. It goes a long way. Okay, and we're going to call that good. Hi, Kathleen. Thank you. Oh, no. Janny shook up her pen and her Molotov marker, paint marker, and the nib came out and white ink went everywhere. Yike! Ike. Okay. Go back in the needle. The tips on the Dina Wakley paints are thicker than what these little needle tools. They're heavier, and so they are quite substantial, which is nice. Okay, so I'm going to hit this with a heat gun, as I said. Then I'm going to set it aside, and we're going to work on the purple one. Oh, sorry, Kathleen. I enabled you for some fine line bottles. I'm not the only one, I'm pretty sure about that. I'm not the only one that enabled you on that score. But Carrie uses airbrush medium to thin her paint. Yep, great idea. You know, it's one of those that, it's like, my theory always is, I hope you can hear me over the heat gun, my theory always is, try it and see if it works. If it doesn't work, then you go, what is it, a piece of paper, right? You can always put gesso over it and start again. But I will tell you, the gold paint from Dina Wakley is a beautiful gold paint. I mean, it is a stunning gold paint. I don't think I can do it justice. I don't think you can catch, there it is. Do you see the high reflective quality of that paint? I mean, it is a gorgeous gold. It is a gorgeous gold. So, anyway. All right, this is not dry yet, but we'll set it to the side and let it do its thing. Let's go back to this one. Okay, the first thing I did was use some metallic pens on it. Okay, so I'm going to use the metallic pens. And let's go to, one of these didn't work. I'll probably pick up the one that doesn't work, right? Yep, that's the one that didn't work. Now tell me, why do I save the ones that don't work? It's like a thing. It's like a thing. I have to save it until it's just positively, totally dead. All right. So what I'm going to do is just kind of outline some of these a little bit. And as I said, sometimes they don't like gelato and they get real spotty. Just keep turning the pen around, and I'm just after some, and I hold the pen back on the back part of the, about halfway down the handle of the pen. And the reason I do that is so it forces me to use loose lines and not get, so I'm not down here trying to outline. I am literally back on the barrel of the pen. Couldn't think of the word. And the reason for that is because I want to keep the strokes really, really loose. So just hit and miss here. Just add a little something something to it. So just, I mean literally, you can tell I'm scribbling, right? I don't want to spend a lot of time doing this. It just puts another little layer of color and what have you on it. Okay, so we're going to call that one done, and I might go for one more. Maybe we'll put some silver on it. And do some of the lines, the supports inside the kites. I do love kites. I love the image of the kite. I love the freedom that the kite, well, it's that illustration, symbolism behind a kite, you know, that there's a certain freedom and yet it's still tethered to the earth. Anyway, I think it's a great metaphor. So just adding a little something something here and there. Scribbly little outlines. This one, this pen, in case I just didn't spaced out and didn't tell you, is silver. Sometimes if your pen doesn't work over the gelato, you can just turn it, or over gesso. That's another one. It doesn't, some pens don't get very angry when you ask them to work over gesso or any other acrylic paint, so, and they refuse to work. So just keep turning the pen. Sometimes that helps. Sometimes it helps if you scratch it off on a piece of extra paper, which I almost always have, either a little card or something, you know, that I'm cleaning off the pen tip. That helps to extend the life of your pens as well. Okay, so we're going to call that good. So let's see, what do I want to do now? I think what I want to do now is I want to go back to the black Fineline bottle. Is that what I want? Yeah. So I'm going to go back to the black Fineline bottle that has airbrush paint in it. Alright, and this time I'm going to go a little more carefully around the image of the kite, but still not stressing about it, okay? Not stressing. If it blobs on you a little bit, you go, oh, look at that. But the quicker, I find the quicker that you use these, the better the result. If you try to control this too much, you will not be happy with the end product. Loose. Freedom. Think kite. Okay? Think freedom. Okay. Good enough for that. All right, and I'm going to hit it with the heat gun again. Okay, now I have one other color in with a tip on it, and this is Penny. So I'm going to use Penny because I have it. And again, I'm shaking it down in the tip and getting it started on another little card. And on this, I want to I think what I'm going to do here is just do some little spirals kind of here and there. Because what I'm trying to do is not repeat the same exact things that I did on the other sheet. And I have to tell you that I have to really try at that, because if not, I will go back to the same patterns that I am used to doing. And I use that little zigzag with the dots around it. I use that a lot in when I do the fabric paper and various things. So I kind of have to think about it and go, no, don't do that, not this time. Now, much of this will go away. So again, when you're doing this kind of stuff, you don't get too concerned about what you see and how balanced it is. You just balance it as best you can. If you squint your eyes when you're looking at things like this, you often can see where the patterns, where there's a hole or where something needs more attention. And so you can do that. Okay, now I know that I don't have this turquoise that's really showing on the surface, but I can't help it. I need some in this one. So this is cobalt teal, some of the fluid acrylic. I still have a little tiny bit of my hoarded stash of cobalt teal that they don't make anymore. And so I am going to put dots on this because I just feel like it needs something to sparkle it up just a little bit, even more than the penny. And as I have always told you many times, one of my friends says, when in doubt, dot. And I subscribe to that philosophy. So when in doubt, give it some dots. And I'll show this to you up close once we get a little further down the road here. So just some little turquoise dots here and there. And if you keep turning it, it helps, because then you'll see the blank spots that might need a little bit more something something. Okay, we're gonna call it good. All right, and now a little bit of heat gun. Okay, so let me show it to you up close. All right, so here's the second sheet. Okay, and this one has the penny on it, which is copper color, but it is also very highly reflective. You don't get to see the beauty of that paint until it dries, and there's a silver one. It's called Sterling. Which I have, but I don't have the tip on it, which I'm gonna have to get. I'm gonna have to spring for, they come in sets of 2, those tips. I'm gonna have to spring and get 2 more of those tips, because I do like how that reacts. Yeah, I do like how that reacts. Okay, so there's that one, and here is the other one, just another quick look at it. So hopefully you can see that they relate to each other, but they're not the same. Okay, so there are the 2 sheets. So these are not quite dry. I'm going to let them sit to the side for a moment. Now, I didn't put any white on this one, which I think we're just going to go with it the way it is. I can add white to it later. It does have some silver sparkles, but all right, we're going to let that sit to the side for a minute. Thanks, Cheryl. And we're gonna do a flashback to last week, and I'm gonna show you the crocheted button flowers that I did last week, because I did some more of them, because you know you can't do just a little bit, you got to do a whole bunch, because that's just the way that goes. And so I just wanted to show them to you. So I have a flower garden now. And I'm going to separate out the ones with paper buttons. Just looking and making sure I have all the paper buttons separated out. Yeah, so these are the paper buttons. The ones done with paper buttons. Okay? So those, because you cannot spray them with color because the button is paper, they have to be, you have to use whatever color you want the petals to be. You'll have to get the thread in the color, so because you can't get the paper wet, or you're going to compromise the paper. even though it's cardstock, but you're going to compromise it. So those are the ones done with the paper, and I think that's all of them I have here. Let me see. Yeah. And then these are done with the buttons, the regular buttons. But what I wanted to show you here is how the colors are different. I know, isn't it pretty? So this color right here, this color is Stream. This is done with color wash, and so this is Stream, and that is full strength out of the bottle. These are also color wash Stream, same exact color, but this time I thinned it down probably by probably 25% color wash and 75% water on these. So this is the same color, but you can see how you can get the pastel version of those colors. So the color wash, in my opinion, is a versatile product to have. This flower right here that has the more defined petals, that is from the, I don't have it here with me, that's from the girl that did the buttons that I saw in Greencraft. This is from her pattern that I bought from Etsy. And this is using the size 20 thread, which is a lot thinner, half the weight of what I used on the rest of these, but the petals are more defined with her pattern than what I did on these, which I'm fine with. How I like how all of them look. I'm just giving you a comparison. Okay, so that's done with Stream. This grouping is it Wild Plum or Plum? I think Wild Plum. I can't remember the exact name, but it's the purpley color wash. So this is full strength, and this is diluted, just like I diluted this group. Okay. So just like I diluted this color wash from the strong version to get that, I did the same thing here. So it's whatever the plum color is. I can't remember what it is, but anyway. Yeah, little color wash goes a long way, absolutely. But I just want you to see the difference in color. So there's that one. And then this is the color wash that is called Butterscotch. That's this one. And done exactly the same thing. So this is the full strength, and this is diluting it with water. So you can see that with not very many colors, you could actually create, if you bought the ivory or the white, this was done with ivory thread, but you could use the ivory or the white thread and have not very many bottles of color wash or whatever. Color wash is from Ranger. It's a Ranger product. And so you could get the variety if you wanted in the flowers. Okay? And then this was Sunset Orange. This is full strength Sunset Orange, and this was full strength of the red, which I want to say is red. I get the color wash colors confused with the alcohol inks. Let me just go get them, so I'll tell you the right things. Yeah, the purple is Wild Plum. Okay, the purple is Wild Plum, so that's what this one is. So this is Wild Plum, and this one is Red Pepper here. This is Red Pepper, full strength. This one is the Sunset Orange. Okay, so that's what this one is right here. They look the same on the camera. They are not. This is very orange. This is very red, although they look the same on my sheet. And this was the one we did last week in pink, and that is the SEI Tumble Dye in Hot Pink. That's the color Hot Pink. So this was put on full strength, so it does not come out, this is not as vivid on this cotton thread, just so you know. Still great, still nice pink, but it's a different a different formulation, obviously. And I just flipped off the lid. Okay. So, any questions about that? I just wanted to show you those. So you could see the flower garden. But this is a great, if you like that kind of stuff, it's a great activity to do while you're watching TV. And then you have, I can see these would be really pretty to use on cards or ATCs. I think it could be really pretty to use on a journal page. You know, you could have a whole garden of flowers on a journal page, or, you know, I don't know. I like having my own stuff, you know, my own embellishments and my own stuff, right? Okay, so I'm going to put those aside. You have any questions? Anybody? And you can put little things in the centers, like I put little crystals in the center. You can see the little crystal in there. You could add little tiny buttons in the middle. So you could do that as well. Okay, heat gun again. See if we can get these dry enough I can work with them. Susan wants to know, do I dye the thread first or after it's completed? I actually do the, I crochet the whole button, the whole flower around the button, and then I dye it. That's how I did it. Because I like the fact that I could get some variation, and, you know, when the dye soaks into the various fibers, like the pink one especially shows it. If I can find it. Here it is. This little pink one has a lot of variety in the color. I don't know that you can see that, but there's some light and dark spots, and I like that because it kind of looks variegated. And the way you get that is to dye it afterwards so that the dye soaks into some of the places more thoroughly than others. So that's how I do it. Hi, Jillian. I can't remember how to say her name. Kia. I'll just call you Kia. How's that? Okay, we're going to call it done. This is pushing it a little bit. It's a little better if you let this really sit and thoroughly dry, but we don't have all that much time. So, and remember, this all started with Gelatos as the background, and for the stamping was Gelatos as well. So what I'm going to use here is a cutting mat, and I'm done with the water, so I'm going to set the water far, far away. Make myself a little bit of room here. I'm done with paint. And I have a rotary cutter that is an old rotary cutter. Well, I won't say it's old. It is dedicated to paper. Okay. Bye, Dottie. Thanks for joining. It's good to have you here. So I'm going to take this now. This is important, people. If you decide you want to do this, this part here is important. You need to keep these in order. Okay, if you want to get the effect that I'm after, you have to keep them in order. So I'm using this. You could use scissors if you want. I just find it a lot easier and faster to do it this way. And I'm going to turn this one this direction. So I'm going to cut this into strips. I'm going to cut it on the horizontal. Okay, so I'm going to start here at the edge. And then I'm going to change. I'm going to move over and I'm going to change. And as I cut these, I'm going to pull them to the side. And if they don't cut all the way through, you gotta make them cut all the way through. But they need to be kept in order. I can't stress that enough for this particular thing, okay? So move them to the side, and this is ever so much easier if you stand up to do this, because you'll get the right pressure on the rotary cutter. So just keep scooting them over. I clearly have a dead spot in my rotary cutter, in the blade. When that happens, you just need to change the blade. Okay, so I'm keeping the strips in order. And keep your fingers behind the blade. Okay, all right, so there's that one. So this is stay in order and scoot it to the side. The other one I'm going to cut in the opposite direction. So instead of across the horizontal, I'm going to cut the vertical. Okay, so again, keep your fingers behind the blade. You could do this with straight strips if you want. I like it with the curvy strips. This is much better to do when you are standing. All right, there we go. So always close the blade on your rotary cutter. I will come and haunt you if you don't, okay? I will personally come and haunt you if you do not close the rotary cutter on the blade on your cutter. All right, slide these off. They've got to be kept in order for the technique to work the way that I want it to work. Now I have the other ones cut the other direction. I'm going to take those and I'm going to carefully move them over here, keeping them in the order that I cut them. Okay, so I have my vertical strips and I have my horizontal strips, and I know the screen's not big enough for you to see everything, but you'll get the idea. They're still in order, okay? All right, so now I'm going to have my trusty Tacky Glue, because I like to work with it. You could use a variety of adhesives, but I'm going to use Tacky Glue. And I'm going to, let's see, How do I want to do this? Let's move these in so you see these more. Let's do this. Alright, so I got my sheet here. The sheet is still viewable. That's right, Carrie. We'll haunt them together, won't we? So I'm going to take the first strip on the left of this other sheet, and I'm going to come over here and I'm going to glue. I'm going to start on the top with this one, and I'm going to glue this little bit to that, just so it gives me a starting point. And I don't use a lot of glue, just enough. Up here, just enough. Line up your edges. Everybody stay put. Everybody stay put here. Now, if you're working with exactly the same size, gotta get a baby wipe here. If you're working with the same size pieces of paper, this is pretty easy to do. Alright, so then the next strip goes on top, and you're going to need to put the glue on the back side of this one. And you can do this in whatever way works best for you. This is just how I do it, but this goes right up against the top one, okay? So it goes right up against the top piece as though these were not cut. That's what you're looking for, to try to get them straight so that they are going to stay nice and tight up against each other. Then this one is going to go under, so I'm going to stick the glue on this. You don't have to be real picky about the glue, but it's just you need enough. That it's going to hold it in place. And the tacky glue with this sets up pretty quickly. Okay, sets up pretty quick, which is good. Okay, remember, now we're over under, so this one goes over. But by keeping the strips in line, the cuts in line with each other, you maintain your pattern. Okay, this one goes under, and you'll need to say that to yourself if you're not an accomplished weaver, which I am not, although I'm a member of the Weavers and Spinners Guild locally. I don't weave, nor do I spin. But I'm a member of the guild. Okay, the next one goes over. Yeah, they asked me to join the group a while back, and I'm like, why do you want me in this group? I don't do this. But they do have study groups, and so there's one of the study groups is called the Fiber Study Group, and so I've been a member of that for a long time. And I love that. I never go to the regular meetings, the big guild, ever. I wouldn't know, I don't think I'd know 3 people in the big guild. But I know everybody in the study group I belong to. Okay, so do you see how we have this put together to begin with, right? So far, so good, right? Everybody with me? So you see how we've started it, right? All right, you take the next strip in order, and you go the opposite way. So just get the pattern going. Yep. Okay, so once you get it in the over-under pattern opposite the first strip, then you're going to slide it in, and sometimes you have to kind of lift up those strips that you're working under, you kind of have to lift them up so that they'll slot in where they're supposed to. And they're going to go right up against the first strip. Okay? You see that? I hope you see it. And then what I do is I just lift up the top strip and I put some glue, and I put some glue. And I'm not putting a lot at the moment. I'm not putting a lot of pressure, just I'm putting the glue down. You can always go back and you can add some more glue later if you need. Thanks, Rain. I'm glad you're with me. Alright, so do you see how that begins to form the pattern? Alright, pick up the next one and do the same thing, but the opposite of the strip before. And I just find it easiest to just get it started, and then I'll scooch it in tight against the first strip, or its neighboring strip. Go scooch it in, and then you want to put some glue. I like to glue it. If you keep it in order, it's easy to do. It really is. But you got to keep it in. You got to keep all the strips in order. Otherwise, it doesn't work. You don't end up with the illusion that we're after. Okay, so we got that one done. Now we're ready for the next one. So repeat. My son likes to say, it's easy. Rinse and repeat. But because I'm working with mixed media paper, this works quite well. Because it will take some, some coaxing, shall we say, for things to get in the right places. But what's nice is when you snug everything up, you don't have, you might have an occasional gap here or there, but scooch is a technical term. Yes, it is. You can scooch fabric, you can scooch paper. I make it look easy, Carrie. Well, good. It is easy. That's good. Mission accomplished. So I'm not after getting every little thing glued down, because like these, right in here, there's no glue at all. I like having some of the dimension, and I can go back if there's any little bits, like these little corners, if they pop up and stuff, I can go back and give those more later. Okay, next one. You can do the same thing with fabric. With fabric, then you need to come back and you need to stitch it to hold it in place. I have a couple of pieces that I've done with fabric, and which I love the end result. So as you get further across, things don't want to line up as easily, and so you have to coax them. So you scooch and coax. Okay, that looks like it's going to be okay. Yeah, so you have to scooch and you have to coax. That's right. You tell it to scooch up to your neighbor. Don't you remember the teachers used to say that when you were in school? Scoot up close to your neighbor. He won't bite. And that's as they were always putting you by the worst behaved kid in the class was the one I always got to sit next to, because I was basically a very well behaved kid. It's like, he won't hurt you. Scoot up close. It's like, you don't know this kid. I've been in school with him for a long time. I know what a rotten little thing he is. Okay, when you get out here to the last strip, this is because things have kind of gotten a mind of their own at this point. Oops. Okay. Over, under. Missing one. There we go. These are not going to line up perfectly out here on the edge. They just don't. So you want to oversize your project. When you're doing this kind of thing, whether it is fabric or paper, you have to oversize it in order to get things to kind of work as well as they can. And this paper is thick enough that it will take the tacky glue quite well. And the reason I can work so quickly with the tacky glue is because I have it sitting upside down in a jar. I don't have to constantly stop and take the tip off of it. Which, speaking of, there it is. I was going to say, what did I do with the tip to the glue? Okay, and so then we're going to do this one. And then we're going to do this one down here. All right, and there, we'll turn it this way so you can see the whole sheet. There is the whole woven, two pieces of paper woven together. Now, what makes this so cool, in my opinion, is, and I'll show this to you a little closer. What I love about this is, let's see if I can find a good one, good example. Okay, right here. You see that? There is the sun right there. And you see it completing. The pattern will complete. And you see the kite, the pattern is completing. Right over here you see the kite, and there's the tail from that one. Here's the sun from this one, and the rays continue, and the rays continue. And here is another one. There's the sun, and the rays continue up, and they continue down. And so that's what I happen to love about here. It's a really good example right here. I love how this works because you get this optical illusion of that makes your head go, how in the world did you do that? You know, how did that happen? How can that work? And so I'm going to back up just a little bit so you can see the concept and see the kite tail extend beyond the kite. But that's what I love about how this works, because if you have two distinct patterns, then you have this, it's just a very cool effect in the way it ends up, you know. So you could take this piece and, you know, I would probably give it more time to glue it together. But you want contrasting colors when you do this. Now you could do it with straight strips, but I think it's much more effective when you're using the curved strips. Okay, I know it just has such a neat look about it. And then you can take this and you can, you know, you could cut it into cards. You could, I mean, I probably for this one, let's see what the size is again. I think it was 7 by 10. Okay, 7 inches goes over to the end of the ruler there. So you could do a 5 by 7 card out of it. you could get 2 5x7 cards out of it, especially if you cut them a little bit small. Do I have any 5x7 cards? I don't think I do. But if you cut them a little bit small, then you could let your card base, you know, I would use a card base that was, you know, one of those that you buy, the package of cards, or you could make your own. I mean, far be it from me, I'm not a card maker. I just sort of slap stuff together. But you could cut these down just a little bit so that the card base would act as a mat for your patchwork. And then you could add something to the patchwork. For example, you know, let's say that you cut this into a 5x7, so work with me here. So you've cut this into a piece, and then you could add, you know, one of your little flowers. You could draw a stem. You could cut stems out of black or green paper or whatever, you know, and put something on it. And I think that could be really fun. I think it could be fun. So what I did with it was I had a page in my journal that already had scraped on paint. Okay, so the background was already full here, was full of paint. So this was already full of paint back here. So it was a bunch of blues and these greens that was already scraped on leftover paint. So then I took my piece of paper patchwork, I cut it down so that it was, I got rid of all these, you know, uneven ends, and so it was nice and square. And then I put that right, I found the page that I liked, and I put it right on top of the background that was already there, because it was already done for me. It was all, you know, the scraped paint business was already in place, so I didn't even have to create the background. And so then I just took that and I used score tape around the edges, and then I put ATG tape because I didn't want to use glue behind this. I wanted it to go down and stay put. I wanted the edges to go down because you can clearly see, I think you can see that the edges want to curl, and so you need something that's going to hold those edges down. Otherwise, if you put glue on the back of it, you're going to have to weight it and let it sit until that glue really grabs. And you got to make sure that the glue will bond with whatever's, you know, paint you've put, you know, underneath this too. Then when I went back and did the letters, what I did was I laid it out with a pencil first. So I just laid it out, just, you know, basic letters. Then I went back and I tried various paint pens to see which one was going to work with whatever's down here. And I truthfully don't know what's in the background. It's paint, it's gel medium, it's who knows what. And so I tried different kinds of pens to see which paint pen was going to work. And so the one that worked on this particular situation the best was the Sharpie poster paint pen. I don't have the Posca paint pen, so I'm sure it would work very well as also. So I went around and I re-outlined, I just did on top of the pencil with the white pen to start with. Then I went back and thickened the letters. Okay, so by that I mean that I did the word, I don't know if this is going to work. Yeah, okay. Okay, so we have the, you can't see that. Let me do it in black. Let me do it in black. I gotta find a black one that's cooperating with me today. Okay, let's move it off the journal page, shall we? I tell you, the love-hate relationship with paint pens continues. All right, so I did that. I just went around and did my, just wrote the letters. Then I came back and I added the thickness. All right, you're going to be a real pain in my side. Being a pain in my side. We're just going to use a Sharpie. Pretend this is a paint pen. I want you to be able to see it. So I went around with the paint pen and I just did all the letters. Then I came back and I added my thickening here and there. Wherever it was that I wanted to add character to the letters, I went back and added the character. But I don't try and do all that in one go. I do it in a couple of different steps. Okay? Then I came back after that and I used a white Uni-ball pen, and I came back and I went around the outside edges. So that's how I can clean up from the paint pen to make it look a little neater, a little tidier. Okay, hopefully you can see that. Maybe, maybe not. This is the one I'm talking about right here. Okay? So that was how I don't know whether you can tell it or not, but there's kind of a two-tone effect in the white here where it says Patchwork, and that's why, because the paint pen is one tone of white and the Uni-ball Signo pen adds the outline, which is a different tone of white. So just in case somebody was wondering. Okay, so let's take a look through this journal and see if there's any other pages. This one might be a good one. Okay, see how there's all that stuff scraped on there and stencils and whatever. That's gelato, and I don't know what all else is on here. So you can just look and see about, pages that you have that have color on them and see what, how things are going to look. And of course you could tone the page any way you want. If you got stuff in the background, if you got too much stuff in the background that you don't want, then you can put something large like this over it and you can tone that down. I'm just trying to give you some examples here, like on this one. So all you're after is to get the frame around it, so you don't care what's under it. You're just looking at whatever the color is around it. And then I inked the edge of this, and I inked the edge of the page, or I will ink the edge of the page, and then just wrote the quote around it. You could add a quote on top of it, but anyway, it's just a fun thing to do, to use with a journal page. Okay, so anybody got any questions? Whoops. Any questions about anything? Did you like that? You like the page as it is? Good. It might stay that way. You just never know. It might stay that way. All right. Well, if you think of questions, I'll let you put them in the chat. I'm going to get the sponsors out. Let them get out of that room because I'm sure they are hot. Tired of being in there. You are welcome, Rain. But that's another way to use your gelatos. And by the time you're done with it, you don't, it's a really fun way to use your gelatos. You don't even know that they're gelatos that you've used. Have you ever tried doing both sides? I have not. I have not. Oh, good, Lynn. All right, let me get the sponsors out. Coming out. Can you make it? Can you make it? Can you make it? Are you going to make it? Just barely? You just barely made it out of that room one more time. Come on. Come here. Come here. All right, come on. Come on. You are such a big cat. Yes. You are such a big boy. Get up here. All yourselves, not just part of your legs, all your legs. All right, there's Mr. Charlie. Chance, are you coming up? You coming up to see everybody? You coming up here? Well, come here. Come here. Good, I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. I'm really glad you enjoyed it. Rawr. He's got cruddy eyes again. You gotta clean your eyes up before you come on camera, you know. Yes. You coming up here? I was watching Dee Dee briefly this morning, Inkwell, and Chance heard her, and I'm telling you, he came from nowhere and wanted to be up. He wanted to be up on the table where he could see her, and that's all there was to it. He wanted to see her. He wanted to be on my lap because he loves Dee Dee. JZ says her weaving and gluing is almost done. Oh, cool. Did it turn out well, JZ? If you scooch back a little bit, then they could see you better. But you don't want to, right? Isn't it funny how they'll lay up here and look? I mean, they like, how do they know there's a camera on them? How do they know? I don't know. I don't know how they know, but they do. They know that the camera's there, and they will point that direction to the camera so they can see everybody, because that's how they are. They're camera hogs. They are camera hogs. Yeah. This morning I tried to get a picture because I was going to send it to Dee Dee, and I was going to tell her that that Charlie was refusing to go to her. They have a big box in their room where they stay most of the time, and it's a big stuffing box for dolls, well, polyester stuffing. It's a 5-pound box, and it's just a great big box, so I have it in there, and it's empty. Now that's serious camera hog in there, bud. That's serious camera hog, and you can't get that close. No, you can't get that close. Yeah, he's being too much of a pig, isn't he? Yes, he is. So Charlie, Chance knocks the box over all the time. He always dumps it over. And so it was on its side, and Charlie was half in, half out of the box. So I tried to get a picture, but he moved. I was going to send it to Dee Dee and say, Charlie wants to go, but he's not sure. Good, Joyce. So JZ says hers is more pastel, less paint. Maybe more gesso. Oh, cool. I'd love to see a picture. Good, Joyce. I'm glad you feel a little more cheerful. That's good. All right, I'm going to leave this hot studio. It didn't get too bad, so I'm really grateful for that. So I'm going to leave the studio because clearly we have something going a little awry in the air conditioner. I'm very grateful that we are close to being done with hot weather. So anyway, thank you very much for joining me, all of you, and those of you that watch the recording. Thanks for taking your time to do that. And so the sponsors and I are going to go relax. I'm going to go eat a bite of lunch. And these two say that they appreciate you being here as well, and for also admiring them when it was all over and done with. Okay, Carrie said she's streaming later. So if you're watching live, she is on at 7 p.m. Eastern. And is it Carrie? Is it I Carry Love? Is that your channel name? I forgot. I'm going to wait till she answers me because I have forgotten. I think it's I Carry Love as her channel name. So, anyway, I'm gonna stop the recording. I'll stay on here just a little bit longer, and so hang on just a minute. So again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next